We never make the best choices out of loneliness, do we? How do you stop letting your loneliness dictate what you do? Let's talk leaving loneliness behind on today's Dear Single Women's podcast. Hello, single ladies. Welcome back or welcome to the Dear Single Women's podcast. I am your host, Janintra, and I thank you for being here. This podcast is for single women who are healing, growing, living, and loving their lives on their terms. Join the community. Follow the podcast, subscribe, thumbs up, share, all that good stuff. So I want to talk about a topic that's really something we don't like to talk about as single women. That loneliness thing, right? It's a hard little monkey that won't get off your back. It's one of the most unpleasant things that no one likes to talk about because no one wants to appear desperate and unhappy. And so I like to talk about the things we don't want to talk about often. I want to empower you to keep loneliness in its place. It is a real factor of life, especially for a single woman, a single person, period. But I'm talking about women today and always. It is a factor of life, and it's a very real thing. And I don't come into this thinking that I'm going to give you some magic tool to get rid of the sting of loneliness, because I can't. And I don't think there is one. There are things you can do, but I guess this is kind of a continuation of last week. There's a unique aspect to needing relationship with a man. There's something unique about that I don't know another part of your life or another category or experience in your life could fill. I don't know if being a lawyer can fill that void. I don't know if being a mother can fill that void. I don't know if being a Christian can fill that void. I would say it can. I would say God didn't design you that way. Adam in the Garden of Eden, he had his job. He had communion with God. He had everything. And yet he realized something was missing. God designed us that way. And it is okay to feel an emptiness there and a sense of loneliness in that part of your life. I don't even know if I'm asking you to rush and get rid of it. I want you to be okay with those moments when you experience it. I don't want you to take the fact that you're lonely and create a whole narrative about you from that. I don't want you to look at how you feel and somehow think that that says something about you. A lot of people are lonely, even people in relationships. But I'm talking to single women today because I don't believe that I'm going to wait all this time for a committed relationship just to be lonely inside of it. Like, no, if we're going to experience loneliness, we're going to feel it on this side of my marital status. I'm not going to feel it in marriage. I'm feeling it now, and so I'm not going to get married and feel it there too. That's just me. I would personally not be willing to stay in a relationship in which I feel just as lonely and unfulfilled as I currently feel in singlehood, because I'll just be single for that. So that's just me though. Perhaps you can relate to that as well. I know that, society likes to tell you there are things that you just have to accept. And there are things that you have to accept, but going back to one of my previous episodes, flaws and all, quality time is my love language. I'm not going to accept not getting that in a love committed relationship, or else why am I there? What am I getting out of it if I'm not getting love, when that's primarily what you want to get out of a committed relationship? So go check out Flaws and All if you haven't listened to that yet. Very good episode. I hope you did that test and figured out what your love language is and what your attachment style is. It was a very insightful episode, and I hope that you check it out. But it's okay to be lonely because you are experiencing things in your life, or your life is set up in a way that loneliness is just the result that would come. And I don't want you to try to run away from that. We want to change it, sure. But I just want to let you know it's okay. Sometimes you just need to know it's okay. There's nothing wrong with you. God designed us for community, for connection, for relationship, for intimacy. It's okay to feel the impact of not getting that and what it will do to you and how it will make you feel. I want to tell you it's okay. And I also want to tell you to not judge yourself for it. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not less than. It doesn't mean you're meant to be alone forever. It's just a period in your life. And maybe it's a prolonged period in your life. It's still a period. It will come to an end. So to cope with these feelings and to successfully overcome them is to acknowledge how you feel. I'm feeling very lonely in this moment. I feel like I'm lacking, or I am lacking, that connection and that emotional intimacy that I'm seeking with a man. Give voice to it and don't shame yourself for feeling it. We indict ourselves. We make character assessments of ourselves based on our life circumstances. And I just refuse to do that. And I want you to refuse that as well. I cancel that kind of thinking. I'm having a human experience that many people have. There's nothing wrong with me. But the question is, are you willing to get there with your loneliness? Or are you still thinking that this means something about you? Through my healing, I am learning how to build a force field around myself. Like a bubble, a force field that cannot be penetrated. And so experiences, things I feel, things that I endure, things that happen, things that I start to perceive based on circumstances, I have to acknowledge them, but I also tell myself they come to a limit. I'm not going to let it penetrate my heart and start to question and doubt and wonder about myself because of a feeling. I acknowledge the feeling. It's a very real feeling. And I'm going to give it to God. I'm going to go within myself and see what can I do to resolve this in the moment. And if there is nothing, then I'm going to sit with it and just experience it and acknowledge that I am having a human experience right now. I'm not going to make an indictment on myself. I'm not going to judge myself. I'm not going to say, well, it's always that way for you and there's something wrong with you. No, I have a force field around myself. There is a limit to how far those messages can go with me. Rule number 1 that I believe is protect yourself. That's rule number 1, protect self. And that can even be in dealing with you. I usually tell my single friends that in dealing with men, that rule number 1 is to protect self. If something doesn't feel right, if something is not going right, you're not going to sacrifice self for whatever you're getting from the guy. You're going to protect self. Rule number 1 is to always protect self. I might do a future episode on that. Let me know if you would like me to do a future episode on that, because there is some ways and practically in which you can do that. And I would love to give some examples even from my own life, how I had to learn that. But you need to protect self, even from your own mind, which I don't know about you, but sometimes I have this it's like a critical voice in my head that it's like anything I'm enduring or experiencing, I automatically put a critical tone on it. The critic in me wants to extrapolate it to mean something else. That what? I'm not lovable? Yeah, no. Protect self, even from self. Because sometimes the killer is inside the house. Sometimes it's coming from within. And we need to build that shield around our hearts that we're never, ever going to internalize messages that don't align with who we are and with who God made us to be. The scriptures say that God inclines his ear towards me when I speak. The scriptures say that God has stored all my tears in a bottle, that he hears me when I cry. He's like a father who bends down when the little child calls for him. He bends down and he listens in tune to what that kid wants to say. You ever saw that with a kid? They will want to talk to you and they'll just whisper something in your ear that's nonsense. But it's just wanting that attention from you. That's what I get from my Father in heaven. And so I'm never going to allow myself to believe that I'm not worthy and that what one experience or one feeling in my life gets to define who I am. But I think I gave you some solid things that protect yourself, understand you're having a human experience, understand it's a very real need. Always be in your corner. Never judge yourself off of your current circumstances. I really like this episode. I just kind of let it flow. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for listening in. Please share this with someone who needs to hear it. People are more lonely now than ever with the advent of social media. So just share this with someone who needs to hear it. You're not damaged. You're not unworthy. You deserve all of the good things. God is not punishing you. He loves you. Just trust and believe that when you speak, he inclines his ear towards you because he loves you. All right, my single ladies, I will see you on the next episode of the Dear Single Women's podcast. Bye now.